right, so let's pick up our pencil and let's put a dot in each corner, breathing in and out, nice and slow and relaxed. And then when you're ready, just connect the dots any way you want, just to create a frame. And we're not looking for a straight line here. We're just either wavy, or if you want to do it straight, that's okay too. Whatever feels good to you right now. Just drawing a line, not thinking about it. Turning your tile. And when you're done with that, you can actually put down your pencil, because we are not going to draw a string today. We just got our border. So when you're ready, pick up your pen. And we're going to start on this right corner here. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Just leaving a little bit of space. We're going to draw an arc shape from this bottom to the side. So just to show you, it's not very big, just in the corner there. And now we're going to double this up, but we want to leave a good amount of space because we're going to be tangling inside of that. So I'm going to just kind of go like this, almost like a double, reminds me of a rainbow or a bridge. So it doesn't matter how thick, as long as, just keep in mind, we will be tangling in it. It doesn't have to be too big, but you don't want it too thin. And now we're going to give each side a nice tight aura, nice and slow and relaxed. Nice thin aura on either side. And now we're going to do the same thing, but what we're going to do is we're going to start it from here. So you might want to watch me first. I'm going to unzoom a little bit here. So I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm starting from here. And I'm going to holly bow it, right? Which means we stop, imagine it's going underneath, and we're going to come out. So it's an arc shape. And then we're going to double that up nice and fat again, because we're going to tangle inside of it. And then giving each side a little thin aura, because we will not, as of right now, we're not tangling inside of these auras unless, of course, you want to. And we're going to keep doing this, right? So we're going to keep doing the same thing. So once you've done that, and I'll just wait a minute because I think people are still doing that. And I'm going to do it again with the next one. So we're here. So I'm going to just start somewhere right around here. Doesn't matter where. And then we're doing that holly bow. So doing the same thing. See, you thought you were coming to an easy class, because that's what it is, an easy class. But I think you might have thought it might have been easier, but this is very easy. We just have to focus a little bit more. So we're going to do this all the way around the perimeter. So we're going to be turning our tile and doing the same thing. And remember, there's no perfection in Zentangle. Every time we do this, it's probably going to be a different width, different shape, different length. We don't focus on that. We just focus on the actual strokes, the pattern. This is actually a pattern called Umble. that we're using as a string. Well, kind of as a string because we're using it in pin, but still. All right, so this is what we're doing. I'm going to be quiet now. And if you ever, if you're confused, you can just watch me. But I think most of you, or if not all of you, probably already are fine with it. So just remember to go nice and slow, relaxed, focusing on getting the meditation benefits. And as soon as we go all the way around, I will come back to you. So relax. I'm gonna, no, I'm gonna mute myself. So when you're done with that, we're going to go around again. Okay. So when we start again, it's really just the same thing. And you can land anywhere you want. And start anywhere you want. So here, it's getting very tight and I've got this big space here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to just find a spot in here to do another one. Now you can always leave that blank and put in another pattern in there later, but that's how I'm doing that. So again, the pattern, this name of this pattern is Umble. And if you look up, you can see how I just spelled it if you want to put that on your tile or in your notes. But I will be sending an email out with these, of course. But Umble is the name of this pattern that we're using as a reticula or string. And when I say reticula, a reticula is usually a grid pattern where fragments of patterns go in it. So this is not a grid pattern, obviously, but anyways. All right, so let's start. I think, let's see. I want to make sure everyone's done here. All right. So I have planned several patterns to suggest today. So we're going to do one at a time. But of course, if you feel like putting in a different pattern, you, as always, you're always free to do whatever you'd like. But we're going to start with the first. I think this is the first one we did. I always like to look on the back. Okay, maybe not. So the first one we did was right here. And let's go real easy and just put in some orbs. So we're going to start real easy with this one. So this one right here, and I'm going to start in the middle of this and put in an orb. And I'm only focusing on, the two inner edges, not the auras. And then putting another one behind it or next to it on either side. So nice and slow, focusing on each stroke, letting the pen be zen, making sure you're breathing. And you can color in any little white specks that might be there. And we're just focusing on just this one ring because we're going to do a different pattern in each one. So I'm going to move on to, let's see. So I'm going to move on to the next pattern now. And so now I'm going to focus on this one. So of course, since it's going under, it's going to be the same pattern coming all the way through. So we'll start at the beginning, turning my tile to get a comfortable position. I'll zoom in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line from one edge down, but we're not going to hit the other line. And instead, we're going to put a little ball. Looks like a little lollipop. And then we're going to do the same thing on the reverse. So we're going to draw a straight line. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, of course. And then before we get to the edge, we stop and put a little ball on. And we keep alternating. I think I did this recently, either in a class or a Zen 10. I don't remember. They all tend to blend together. I'd have to look it up. So we're just alternating back and forth and then continuing on this whole, I'm going to call it a bridge. Okay, are we ready for next one? Let's see what people are doing. And remember, you can always go back. So let's do a Printemps. So everyone knows Printemps. We start off with a drawing a small letter E, and then we keep going around. Now you might want to draw backwards E. It doesn't have to be that same direction. And then we'll draw. Actually, I'm going to even draw one. I'm going to squeeze it in here and just add some layers to it. And what I'm also going to do while I'm here is I think I'm going to alternate the rings, the layers. Now you can either put in those lines or you can just color them in, or both. So we'll continue on. So I like to add some layers. Maybe I'll color that in there. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to another pattern. So what I'm doing is I'm continuing on just how we drew these. So I'm just keep going, kind of following the order that we drew them in. And for this one, let's do Mooka. So if anyone attended Trisha's club last Friday, she did this in a nice small area like this, and it's really pretty. So here's what we do. Let's see. I'm gonna, maybe it'll be easier, I think, well, I would start up like this. And you might want to watch me if you're not, if you don't know this pattern, you can just watch me a little bit. So it's just coming up, and I like to trace along the side, come around to draw this kind of golf ball shape, come up and then down. And actually, I would have liked that to have touched there, but that doesn't matter. Everything happens the way it's supposed to. So you can either leave the space or you can have that brown touch the next one. And I'll continue doing this over here. So I'm going to trace along, and when I draw that big round circle, I'm going to touch now the previous one. Again, it's either way is fine. It's just two different styles. And I'm alternating. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. So I'm alternating different directions. And then in these little spaces, I'm suggesting to put an orb in like that and then color in the sides. Now, you may decide to put something else in there. You could put little tiny orbs, fill that up. You can color the whole thing in solid, or you can leave it blank and maybe put some shading in later. But I'm going to put an orb in each one and color in the background. And if it's too small to put an orb in, like here, I'm just going to color that in. Nice and slow. When you're done with this, I want you to cap your pens for a moment, shake out your wrist, do a little body break, move around in your chair, shoulders, look around. If you feel like you want to stretch and get up, you can do that. It's not break time yet. In a little while, I will actually do a little couple-minute break to give you an opportunity to use the restroom or do whatever. But just felt like we needed a little shaking out. Yeah, that's good, Magdalene. I love that. Stretch your neck back on your chair. That's great. Ooh, your shoulders, loosen up. Okay. So we're going to move on to the next pattern. Bet you didn't know you were going to do so many patterns tonight either. But they're easy, most of them. And let's do this one. Let's do, no, we're going to do this one here. So I'm going to, what we're going to do is we're just going to draw. I'm going to start here only because it'll be easier to demonstrate. So I'm giving it this slightly arced line, and I'm going to aura that. So do that with me. And then just looking to see what I want to do. Okay. And then inside this aura, actually, before we do that, we're going to give a thin aura on either side. And inside the middle, we're going to give it these stripes, horizontal lines. And then we're going to skip some space and do the same thing. Now, if you want, you can draw your band first. I'm going to call it a band. Then draw your lines. And then give it the aura on either side. So it doesn't matter how much space you leave in between. It's just putting these cute little bands, almost like bracelets, on this pattern. So just take your time and have fun with it. And even these stripes, we go nice and slow. Each one wants your undivided attention. So I have 3 more patterns that I'm going to share with you and suggest. And then after that, we can fill up the rest using the same patterns or whatever patterns you'd like. Um, and so we're going to go with this one right here. And this one, we're going to do Crescent Moon. And the way we're going to do that is we'll put in a little ladybug, just an arc shape, and color that in. And then we're going to put one on the other side, but not lined up. Move it over off center, not lined up with the other one. And just kind of alternate these little ladybugs. And we'll do that first, and then I'll come back and tell you the next step. Take your time, nice and slow, breathing in and out. Make sure your grip is not too tight, nice light grip on your pen. So the next step to this pattern is we're going to give each one an aura. That's all, nice and slow, nice and relaxed. Now you can either leave it like that or keep adding auras. I'm going to keep adding auras and go doing one at a time. And as they get smaller, just adding more lines in there. Okay, so I'm going to do the next two patterns, and then we'll have the rest to fill up nice and slow and meditative and quiet, but you won't have to hear my voice as much. Okay, so what we're going to do for this one is the pattern Emingle. So let's see how I want to do this. There's different ways to do this. So I'm going to just start with this line here. I'm going to actually go right over it. I'm going to trace along the edge, come up, and then come in and in and in. So kind of like a square printemps, like a square spiral. So you might want to make sure you do that one now, and then I'll show you how to do the next one. So I came down like this, crossed over. I trace the bottom here. You don't have to. Then I come up and then in, keep coming in, or in. And then the next one, I go nice and close, and I'm drawing a line from top to bottom of that edge, tracing along, coming up, and before I hit that top one, I'm coming in and down and just keep orating inside. There's no right or wrong here. You can do this any way you want. Lots of different ways to do every pattern. Make it your own. Listen to your inner artist. Actually, I am tracing the top line as well, but not always. Okay, so I'll show you the final pattern that I'm suggesting tonight, and then we'll move into doing the rest. And yeah, we'll do this, and then I'll talk about break. So I'm putting in the pattern Nzeppel, which means we're just zigzagging any old way, almost like a scribble. So don't even worry about how you're doing this. It's just come in, kind of just go zigzag. Think about when maybe you were in kindergarten and you just kind of drew some scribbles, but it's kind of, not too scribbly. Because what we're doing is we're laying down the foundation for the pattern Nzeppel, which in each one of these sections, we kind of put in an orb. So I'll give you a minute to first put down the scribble or the zigzaggies. And you can always add, like a line like this, or here, you can always add a line in there or a zigzag. And then when you're ready, just squish in an orb. So the way I do is I like to trace along the edges and round off the corners. But basically, I'm just tracing along, imagining I'm squishing in a balloon or an orb, and an orb is an imperfect circle. And you do that with every little section that you created with your scribble. So instead of taking an official break, we're just going to keep tangling. And because if yours is like mine, you still have some areas left. So we'll just spend that time doing that without instruction. You can just fill in the rest with your own patterns or the same patterns we did. And if you need a break, which I highly recommend you do, stand up, do whatever you need to do, you can do it during that time, because I'm going to have a lot of time, give you enough time to do all that. And I'm actually going to pause the recording. So for anybody watching the recordings, that's what you're going to do now, is you're going to just, with the rest of these here, you're just going to fill them in on your own using the same patterns that we did here or other patterns that you might like to add in. And then I will resume the recording and show you what we'll do with the rest. And because we will be doing shading today too. So what I'm suggesting here is taking your pencil, using the side, and coloring in all the background area. Now, if you don't want to do that, you are free, of course, to put in other patterns in the background. You could even take your thicker pen and do coloring some areas in black if you want to, and alternating black and gray. or just put in little orbs. But what I'm going to do today is just use my pencil and coloring in. And we don't have to use the side of the tip. I just like to because it does shade a little bit easier, but just be comfortable. You know, you can just, and so I'm putting graphite in, however, and I'm coloring it in very lightly because then we'll take our tortillon and we'll smooth it out with our tortillon. Just smoothing it out. A little bit different shading than we're used to. I mean, we've done this in certain patterns, but this is something that we're going to do the whole background. But again, you always follow your inner artist, your desires, do whatever feels good to you. And we're still in relaxation, breathing, taking our time. We have lots of time to do this, so there's no rush. Just a reminder that the camera doesn't show the shading as dark as it really is on my tile. So it's not as, it shows it very light. It looks like it's very light, but it really isn't. And you don't have to go dark, but these bugs, don't need these bugs. So I'm going to continue doing the background with the shading. And for those of you on the recording, when you're done, make sure you initial, and I'll just do that now, or sign your artwork anywhere you would like. Make sure you turn it around, see different angles, and really appreciate what you've done. And I will be coloring in the rest of this gray, but we're going to stop the recording for now.